Hey there gamers, DreamcastGuy here, and today we're talking about PlayStation because the 24-hour crash of the PlayStation Network has pissed off a lot of fans, but I don't think it's just that they couldn't play their games. I think it's that this entire mess has highlighted two giant problems with the entire gaming industry, but especially Sony. And I want to talk about that because as we approach this all-digital future, I think a lot of gamers are starting to get afraid about the idea that this is no longer just about buying a physical disc or having a next-gen console. It does seem like these technical errors, if everything is on the cloud, if everything just exists on a hard drive that needs an online connection, every time something crashes, every technical error means that your system becomes a brick. But let's talk about those two big problems and how I hope they get addressed. I hope you're having a great day, and if you could, please give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. So, let's start with this, which is that I do appreciate the fact that they are apologizing. PlayStation is saying, hey, we screwed up, and as a way of sort of making it slightly better, this kicks off the first point, which is people not happy about the silence of it. It's extremely shady and there's tone-deaf communication. I lost my profile back in the PlayStation 3 hack, and this is one of the reasons I do not trust PlayStation, at least security-wise. So they said, hey, we finally found a way to fully recover from an operational issue. A little bit vague there. And we apologize for the inconvenience. All PlayStation Plus members are automatically receiving an additional 5 days of service. So, I feel like to a corporate entity, they think this is a good trade-off. Okay, you couldn't play for 24 hours, so we're going to give you 5 days of free playtime, right? But I don't think it's that. I think it's that a lot of people are saying, okay, this highlights problem number one perfectly, which is that every company is obsessed with secrecy now, but especially the gaming industry. When you talk about movies, there's stuff of people talking about productions and scripts and budgets and stuff. When it comes to music, people are always tinkering and collaborating and stuff. But video games as an industry is, in my opinion, pointlessly obsessed with obscuring the truth, about trying to be always vague or obfuscate what they're actually up to. This answer, we fully recovered from an operational issue. What does that mean? In fact, all the replies like, bro, if I could afford it, I would go to PC. A lot of people are like, okay, 5 days of PlayStation Plus as an apology, that's like getting small fries after they mess up your entire order. In all seriousness, things happen, but you have to communicate with us. You guys failed to do so. We're more angry about that fact, the fact that you didn't communicate with us, than the actual problem. Literally, every single reply is like, okay, what's up? This morning, I actually even got my phone and I looked at the PlayStation 5 Reddit, and it's literally pages and pages of people saying, do I have to worry about my credit card information? Is this mean I need to trade the password on my PSN account? The fact that they're being so silent, it's not just counterproductive, but it's making people wonder, okay, is the actual truth worse than my imagination? Now, let's be clear, what probably happened is a DDoS attack. Essentially, the way that works is that it's where you make millions of bot accounts to all spam log in at the same time, and it crashes the servers. It's like, there's like a mail slot on your door. Imagine if somebody tried to cram in 10,000 letters at once. Not only would it actually crush the door itself, but it would block normal mail from getting in. So DDoS attacks, they happen. They're difficult to stop. Some companies are better at it, like Apple. Microsoft is really good about stopping DDoS attacks, but it's more than that. It's the fact that they won't just come out and even say, hey, a massive hacker group tried to knock stuff offline. The fact that they won't talk about it, the fact that they won't even give us a gentle reasoning about what's up, that to me is infinitely more suspicious than these vague promises about the fact that everything is now fixed. But this brings me to the other problem. The problem I think a lot of people are beginning to realize, which is that there are rumors that the PlayStation 6 is going to be fully all digital, that there won't be disk drives at all. Like maybe perhaps there will be some sort of external thing where you can actually buy a disk drive to set next to your PlayStation 6 that will only play your PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4 games. But a lot of people are starting to realize, oh, the all digital future is definitely coming soon. But this is a problem that people did not kind of realize, which is the fact that when your stuff only exists on a server, when your game, your hundreds of games, your possibly thousands of games that you love to play the most, games that you play with the bros, those games are granted a license. You can't play it unless the server is consciously looking at it and saying, yes, I grant the permission. Now, when you have a physical disk, this has a built-in license on it. Like this disk itself has basically a token. Putting it into the system grants the license and it works. So what happens when we don't have physical media? What happens when the tokens, these licenses, are being perpetually provided by an inconsistent server? Now, in this case, MVG, this is Modern Vintage Gamer, an incredibly good friend, very, very good YouTuber. And he basically was like, okay, what about this kind of stuff? If my system cannot play offline, what the hell do I do when there is an outage? What the hell do I do with a single player game like Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 if I don't have the license, if it's not able to be verified because of your problem? Why am I buying games on your platform? And the problem is that it does seem like this is going to be a bigger issue going forward as we sort of abandon the last vestiges of physical media. It's going to suck that if there's not a constant update, if there's not a constant connection, the games you love, the games you care about, the games you're currently trying to beat on your Friday night, they can just be invalidated. I like the fact that he just tweeted this. I think it's a good sentiment, which is that the whole idea of PlayStation is, hey, we're the best place to play. We got the best exclusives. We got the biggest online network. If you play games online specifically, it seems like if you're playing a game that doesn't have crossplay, PlayStation is so far ahead out of the competition, it's a good spot to play because you get, a constant pool of players. But if the internet can crash, if PlayStation can crash, what are we doing here? I am nervous about the future in general of video games because I grew up in the era of cartridges, of being able to blow into it and pop it in and instantly play some Zelda and stuff like that, but also even the early discs of PlayStation. You could put in Chrono Trigger, you could put in Final Fantasy VII, and if you had a memory card, you could save it, you could beat it, you could grind it, you could love it, and it didn't matter. As long as you had a power connection, a controller, and at least a moderately non-flickering CRT TV, you could beat it. You could beat everything pretty damn easily. And now, it's not so simple. Now it's about updates, about constant connections, about making sure that everything's properly configured, about making sure your licenses are verified. I think I'm afraid about the idea of stuff like this, of what happens if your account gets hacked and all of a sudden the games you own just get bricked. Your console essentially gets bricked. What happens when your servers just go down? What about in the future? Isn't it kind of weird to think about the fact that if I want to show my son a PlayStation 5 game in 10 years, am I going to be able to do that? Do I just have to hope that PlayStation still exists? That PlayStation has some form of backwards compatibility? Do I just have to hope that I can show him some of my favorite games when he was a kid? I don't know. I feel like the all-digital future is coming soon, and the lack of communication, the lack of updates, the lack of, freedom to play our games the way we want, I think it's going to become a much bigger problem, much faster than we imagine. But maybe I'm being doom and gloom. How do you guys feel about this? How did you get affected by the PlayStation Network crash? Tell me your thoughts in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and please keep dreaming.
Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.